Hi, this is Zak Mir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Vox Markets on Wednesday, the 5th of May. Starting off with Afritin, where we've narrowly avoided hitting that black resistance line there from back at the beginning of, well, I suppose the end of 2018, running up to 8 pence. Nearly hit it in March and not too far away now. Break of 8 pence on a weekly close basis could take the shares up to the top of that rising trend channel from back in November, as high as 12 pence. And the time frame on that as soon as the end of June. Clearly a weekly close back through that 8 pence level, that old peak around 7.4 pence, really the obvious trigger for the shares to head higher. We've just hit that again today as the intraday high, but maybe a bit of patience required for the rest of the week. Moving on to a stock which I've covered very recently, Alpha Growth, which is looking very, very strong indeed, as I said before. Top of the channel there from June as high as 12 pence. That also looking as though it's on the cards for the end of next month. And a decent weekly close above last month's peak at 7 pence should be the momentum trigger for that target to be hit over the near term. Onto a stock which is not so familiar, but may become so over coming weeks. Here we've got a stock which is a Bion, and here we've got a situation where it just looks like the liquidity is coming into this situation. It has done since the beginning of last month, which is normally the first sign for a re-rate for a stock or market. Obviously, it may be the case it's going to re-rate downwards as well, but here we've got that symmetrical triangle. We've broken the 50-day line and that triangle at 2.7 pence. And while we're above 2.7 on an end-of-day close basis, looking for a full or even partial retest of that April peak up towards the 5 pence level over the next 1 to 2 months. So let's see if that pans out as it should. On to Botswana, and we've got a situation where the shares have been gradually improving over the recent past. The breakout, I suppose, happened in the last week of last month through a penny, and we've made good progress since then. Currently expecting the stock to hit the top of that broadening triangle from back in February last year. That's promising us a target as high as 1.5 or 1.6 pence as soon as the end of this month, while we remain above the 1 penny level. But given how long the shares have been consolidating, one would have thought that 1.5, 1.6 is actually the least of the upside we might expect over coming months. Maybe by the end of the summer, we're heading up towards 2.5 pence of that red resistance line there from back at the end of 2018. So everything to play for there on Botswana at the moment. Clear Leisure was a bit of a hero earlier in the year. Came back rather nastily, but looks as though we've got a bear trap rebound from below the 2 pence level. So quite a strong bear trap that we had a couple of days well below the neckline, April neckline support at 2 pence. But the message now is that while we remain above 2 pence, on an end-of-day close basis, looking to retest last month's resistance at 3.7 pence, hopefully as soon as the end of this month. Good news from Edenville today. Here we've got a situation where it looks as though, even though we were hoping for the stock to head up towards the top of the broadening triangle, up to 90 pence, the last time we looked at it a few months back, has been a sort of consolidation, but maybe today's news is the trigger. While there's no end-of-day close back below 30 pence, today's low, looking for a retest at least of the 60 to 70 pence area of the next 2 to 3 months, which is August-September resistance. If you're cautious on the shares, which you might understandably be, you'd wait for a clearance and an end-of-day close or a weekly close above 40 pence, recent resistance, post-January resistance for the shares, and then use that as your momentum trigger. Moving along to the top riser of the day so far, or as we stand at least. Here we've got Gtech. And the situation here is that we broke out of that symmetrical triangle from back in December at the beginning of last month. We've had a consolidation since, but today's move with a likely end-of-day close above 28.7 pence, which is the initial April resistance, could be enough to take the shares on a journey towards the top of the rising trend channel from December as high as 50 pence by the end of June, obviously taking out that initial February resistance on the stock. On to another stock which has been riding high of late, and think it's quite a punter's favourite as well. Codal Minerals, good to see that it's finally got its act together. Yesterday's price action, obviously the breakout that we had for the shares. Today, what we're looking for is an end-of-day close through April resistance at 0.17 pence. We can get that, then hopefully by the end of this month, rather, we could see 0.25 pence at the top of that rising June trend channel for the stock. Maybe for next month up to 0.35 or 0.4, which is the top of the broader triangle, broader channel rather, in place since the summer of 2019. At this stage, only well below the recent support and the 50-day moving average at 0.12, really delaying the upside scenario. More obscure stock for us today, coming in the form of Celex Technologies. Here we've had slow but sure progress over the recent past. Nice gap higher today, and the share's not too far now from the broadening triangle target that we had a couple of months ago, as high as 70 pence, which is that July resistance line projection, and 70 pence valid while there's no end of day close back below April resistance at 50 pence. Moving along to one of the other sort of mining favourites at the moment, Panther Metals. Here we've had a decent rising trend channel in place on the daily chart for some months now, so back in I suppose this time last year. Top of the channel currently heading as high as 22 or 23 pence. That could be hit as soon as the end of next month, while there's no end of day close back below the floor of the channel and the 200-day moving average at 11.8 pence. So decent recovery starting there at Panther Metals. Yesterday's big story, or one of yesterday's big stories, was from Terra Party, which has got this new graphene or aluminium graphene composite going, and broke that line of resistance from March at 102 pence, and that's now, I suppose, today's support area. While there's no end of day close back below 102, we're looking for £1.40 or £1.50 as soon as the end of next month at the top of that broadening triangle. Broadening triangles tend to be very strong momentum situations for stocks and markets, so that has a decent chance of panning out as we wish. Finishing off with Trinity, and similar chart, I suppose, in a way to that at Tirupati, with a break of a near-term resistance line, that March line at 13 pence, and shares swiftly heading towards the notional target there, September resistance line projection at 20 pence, and that could be seen as soon as the end of this month. If you're a fan of the stock and dreaming of dizzier heights, then the next level up, maybe by the end of June, up to 30 pence at that December resistance line projection. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.